There's a famous saying that to think creatively is all about to think outside the box. At KreaBiz, there is no box. We believe that consistency is no longer enough to do business in this competitive digital age. At KreaBiz, we teach, learn, invent, design, manage competitive digital age, innovate with business. At KreaBiz, beyond those boundaries, beyond limitation, invent, beyond design, manage competitive, collaborate, innovate, design, business. At KreaBiz, beyond those boundaries, beyond limitation, invent, beyond design, manage competitive, collaborate, innovate, design, business. At KreaBiz, beyond those boundaries, beyond limitation, invent, beyond to drive further manage for contributing to global development and advancing humanity. KreaBiz is settled on a credible and sustainable innovative ecosystem.
The faculty KreaBiz was founded to translate ideas into actions, bridging technology to humanity and moving our imagination toward a better future. We see different creative perspectives and approach to solve the problem, to be solutions, and to improve as we design, build, and manage.
Industrial design is an integrated approach which combines aesthetics, ergonomics, sustainability, manufacturing, and mechanics to solve product-related problems. Our digital laboratory is oriented to integrate digital technology and design process for the creation of new and innovative products. Meanwhile, in the Proto Model Laboratory, we explore materials, prototyping using modern and digital technology and engineering in the early stage production to be tested. We believe in a principle that great design in interior space will improve quality of life. These spaces should be aesthetic, functional, safe, comfortable, and sustainable. Our lab expertise in the optimization of space performance in buildings, the development of spatial-themed extended reality technology, building information modeling-based interior design, and intelligent technology practice. Visual is one of the most powerful mediums to communicating ideas. Visual communication works transcend beyond words and language, directly reach human cognitive processes by controlling color, symbols, images, or even movement. We have now reached the point where the power of technology touches every corner in everyday life. We acknowledge the need for future managers, leaders, and professionals who can manage this power. We prepare future business leaders to organize, analyze, direct, and evaluate various business operations with an effective strategy and fundamental knowledge of business, entrepreneurship, marketing, and human resource management. We apply critical thinking, science, and technology to discuss what best solution to give in the global business environment. Development is about expanding the choices people have to lead lives that they value. There's a famous saying that to think creatively is all about to think outside the box. At KreaBiz, there is no box. We believe that consistency is no longer enough to do business in this competitive digital age. At KreaBiz, we teach, learn, invent, design, manage, collaborate, innovate with businesses beyond those boundaries, beyond limitation, beyond the box. The Faculty of Creative Design and Digital Business, also known as KreaBiz, is one of the faculties at ITS Surabaya. ITS researchers collaborate with local, national and international institutions to drive further exploration for contributing to global development and advancing humanity. KreaBiz is settled on a credible and sustainable innovative ecosystem.
The faculty KreaBiz was founded to translate ideas into actions, bridging technology to humanity and moving our imagination toward a better future. We see different creative perspectives and approach to solve the problem, to be solutions, and to improve as we design, build, and manage.
Industrial design is an integrated approach which combines aesthetics, ergonomics, sustainability, manufacturing, and mechanics to solve product-related problems. Our digital laboratory is oriented to integrate digital technology and design process for the creation of new and innovative products. Meanwhile, in the Proto Model Laboratory, we explore materials, prototyping using modern and digital technology and engineering in the early stage production to be tested. We believe in a principle that great design in interior space will improve quality of life. These spaces should be aesthetic, functional, safe, comfortable, and sustainable. Our lab expertise in the optimization of space performance in buildings, the development of spatial-themed extended reality technology, building information modeling-based interior design, and intelligent technology practice. Visual is one of the most powerful mediums to communicating ideas. Visual communication works transcend beyond words and language, directly breach human cognitive processes by controlling color, symbols, images, or even movement. We have now reached the point where the power of technology touches every corner in everyday life. We acknowledge the need for future managers, leaders, and professionals who can manage this power. We prepare future business leaders to organize, analyze, direct, and evaluate various business operations with an effective strategy and fundamental knowledge of business, entrepreneurship, marketing, and human resource management. We apply critical thinking, science, and technology to discuss what best solution to give in the global business environment. Development is about expanding the choices people have to lead lives that they value. Understanding how development impacts our environment or social forces will give us insight on how to reshape our future. At KreaBiz, it's our responsibility to show that creativity and innovation can solve our society's problems today and provide the best solution. We foster creativity for prosperity. Let's walk toward the future, beyond boundaries, with us.
Institute Teknologi 10 November Surabaya, as one of Indonesia's leading universities for study and research, is built above 180-hectare land, currently accommodating 18,484 active students, 1,094 lecturers, and managed by 1,561 staff members. Launching program Smart Eco Campus at 2011, ITS is fully equipped with integrated technology. Students can learn and interact through Smart Class program by simply log in at the designated time for an online class session. Massive open online courses, MOOCs, are free online courses available for anyone to enroll. All accessed by smart cards, application, web and mobile site. Smart Eco Campus is also implemented by building an eco farm to obtain environmental-based lifestyle. ITS is providing iCar, an electric self-driving car, with 20 stopping points utilized by iCar app. Campus Bike, to simplify student mobility around campus. Supply with best facilities, students can live comfortably inside ITS campus. Starting from excellent student dormitories, canteen and cafeteria at various places, K1 Mart to shop daily needs, Manarul Ilmi Mosque, accessible toilets for disabled people in every area, various sports facilities, indoor and outdoor fields, a medical centre as health service unit, language and culture centre to boost English competence, ITS library, and several co-working spaces as a learning resource centre. ITS provides more than 184 laboratories spread across 7 faculties. Among them are the Robotics Laboratory, that has pioneered research, development and education, and already successfully winning national, regional and international robot contests. Robotics team built Robot Medical Assistant, RAISA, to reduce the workload of medical personnel and minimize the exposure of viruses. The Energy and Environmental Laboratory has the main task to support ITS main research and provide consulting, analysis and training services. Material and Energy Laboratory, equipped with the latest machinery to help students learning to determine product and material quality control. Architecture Laboratory provide places for students to design, produce and refine their architectural artistic creations. Geomatics Laboratory is utilized for mapping survey to support the geospatial information industry and natural resources management. ITS Techno-Science as a place for ITS to contribute to the industry by collaborative learning to support technological innovation and commercialization, business creation and employment development, economic development, which all incorporated in Science Techno Park. High technology in line with natural environment makes ITS beautiful and comfortable, important to create a supportive learning atmosphere for the students.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 6th Development Talk 2022. This topic addressed in this occasion is unintended meaning, managing communication challenges across multicultural setting. It has been an honor for the Department of Development Studies, Faculty of Creative Design and Digital Business, Institut Teknologi 10 November, to have Ms. Rachel Ann Valera from Bukidnon State University, the Philippines, as invited speaker to deliver the topic. We proudly present the annual event at Development Studies named Devtalk. Development Talk is a series of talks hosted by the Department of Development Studies, Faculty of Creative Design and Digital Business, Institut Teknologi 10 November, to address various important topics related to development, ranging from society, public policy, community empowerment, law enforcement, economics and communication. Experts, practitioners, and policymakers around the world have been invited to deliver their speech on some important current issues in development since May 2020. This time, the sixth Devtalk will focus on a theme, unintended meanings, managing communication challenges across multicultural setting. And it is a great honor for me, Berliana Putri, to be here as your master in ceremony and welcome each and every one of you in the sixth Devtalk. Ladies and gentlemen, over the next few hours, this meeting will provide you plenty of opportunities to discuss, share knowledge, and insight. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Our opening ceremony is about to begin. Please have a nice and comfortable sitting position. And before we start the conferences, please change your display name, have your mic muted, and have your video on. Thank you. Before we proceed the program, we would like to express sincere gratitude to the Dean of Faculty of Creative Design and Digital Business, Dr. Imam Baihaki, distinguished the Head of Development Studies Department, Dr. Arfan Fahmi, distinguished the keynote speaker, Ms. Rachel Anna Valerie from Bukitnan State University, sincere gratitude to all the lecturers, Bu Yuni, Bu Windy, the committee, and all the participants. For the next event, please take a formal sitting for Indonesian
Recording in progress.
And ITS hymn.
Indonesia tanah airku, tanah tumpah darahku. Di sanalah aku berdiri, jadi pandu ibuku. Indonesia kebangsaanku, bangsa dan tanah airku. Marilah kita bersatu
It is now my deep pleasure to introduce the Dean of Faculty of Creative Design and Digital Business, Dr. Imam Baihaqi. Dr. Baihaqi earned his PhD from Monash University, Australia, while he was pursuing his doctorate degree, and he also works as tutor, teaching assistant, and research assistant in Department of Management School of Business, Monash University, Australia. He also worked as a programmer and system analyst that takes up his interest on management and information technology, especially in relation operations and supply chain management. Ladies and gentlemen, give a round of virtual applause for Dr. Imam Baihaqi to deliver the opening speech and officially open this conference.
Thank you, Berliana, for very kind introductions. Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Arfan Fahmi, as the Head of Department of Development Studies, Dr. Windiani as the Deputy Head of Departments, Ibu Yuni as the lecturer and also the moderator of today's lecture or today's talk. And of course, one and the only guest today, Ms. Rachel Ann Ferrale from Philippines. It is a great honor for us these global worlds. Nobody in this world cannot escape from the reality that we are actually connecting, talking, and communicating with others that have different characteristics, different background, and especially different multicultural background. Not to mention about the global world. In our country itself, which is Indonesia, has more than 700 local cultures with more than 700 also, I think, local languages, local living languages. Communicating among us sometimes is not that easy. And we are very lucky. We have one motto, which is Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, or diversity in unity. But of course, in many occasions, we face many challenges in understanding each other, understanding differences, understanding the needs and behavior of others. And now we are living in a global world, which requires us not to be like only talking about ourselves, only talking about our country, but we also need to take care of the world problem. We are, all of us here, is the citizen of the world. We are not only the citizen of Indonesia, but we are the citizen of the world, which requires us to understand what is happening in the global world, what is happening in the middle of the corner in the Philippines, for example, or in the middle of corner somewhere in US or somewhere in Europe, that we are actually facing the same challenges. Okay, many challenges that human facing today are challenges for everybody, such as global warming, reducing disparity of income, reducing poverty. It is our everybody problems. So in that occasion, we need to communicate. We need to talk. We need to have understanding each other, understanding about the needs, political interests, and so on and so on. And the topic about communication today is very timely because we are still in the pandemic situation. Before pandemic, communication somehow quite easy because we can see the body language of people who are talking with us. We can see the setting. We can feel the setting that I'm now in Philippines, for example. I know what I can do and what I cannot do. But in today's online world where we are connecting, and thanks to the technology that we are even more connecting, but somehow some people feel that human touch is somehow fading out. So this topic today is really timely. And it is great honor for us to have Ms. Rachel Ferrale from Philippines. We will be learning a lot from her experience, and looking at her CV is really fabulous. She is one of the Miss, let me check again. Yes, Miss World from Philippines 2021, and I believe she's been doing a lot of things in terms of communication. So I believe she is the lecturer, but also she is the practitioners about the communication in the global world. So without further ado, I would like to express my, first of all, I would like to express my sincere thanks to all the committee members who prepare this event, doing a lot of hard works, effortless, and to make this happen. And also I would like again to thanks to Ms. Rachel to able to spend hours probably with us on her busy times. And lastly, without further ado, I would like to say that this development talk, the sixth development talk, is obviously open and have a very wonderful discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Imam Baihaki. What I like to say, we're not just Indonesia people, but we're also the people of the world. Thank you for the speech, Dr. Baihaki. And all right, before we go into the main session, now we're going to have a photo session. So please turn on the camera and please the operator to be standby, and we will take several photos. For the app operator, maybe could lead us.
Yeah. I'll count until 3. 1, 2, 3. Maybe once again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, after the wonderful and encouraging speech from Dr. Baihaki, now we'll proceed to the main session. So there are two main sessions. The first session will be featured by none other than the beautiful speaker and moderator, Ms. Rachel Valere and Ms. Eunice Setyaningsih, that will be discussing about today's main topic, for unintended meanings, managing communication challenges across multicultural setting. And for the second session will be the most fun and thrilling session, as we all know that there will be a door prize time. To be the winner, there are some rules and conditions applied as we speak. So Next session, we'll have Miss Yuni Setyaningsih as a moderator. But before we proceed, let me introduce her. Miss Yuni, or Yuni Setyaningsih MSc, in present time is a lecturer at Development Studies, Institute Teknologi 10 November. She also has a specialty and working experience in advocacy, and also had marked a lot of achievement, and one of those are the Thought of Food, or TFF, for Global Summit in Zurich, Switzerland, promoting Morbi Plus, a biscuit specially designed for tackling malnutrition in Indonesia. And as for the organization, Miss Yuni joined SUN, or Scale Up Nutrition, which is coordinated by Bapenas, and became a part of Voice for Inclusiveness Climate Resilience Action. Interesting, isn't it? Well, without further ado, let's welcome and give a virtual applause for Miss Yuni Setyaningsih.
All right, so thanks so much for Berliana as the host for this Devtalk Volume 6. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back in Development Talk Volume 6 with me again, Yuni Setyaningsih, as your always moderator. And I will be sharing my screen to introduce what we're going to have for today. So today, Wednesday, 30 March, ITS, and then the opening speech from Mr. Imam Baihaki as the MSc PhD. He is the Dean of Faculty of Creative Design and Digital Business. Thanks so much, Papa, for giving a very amazing and also motivating opening speech to us. And also introduction by myself, which I do just now, and the presentation, which you're really waiting for. 40 minutes by Ms. Rachel and Valera, and then we will have a Q&A and also conclusion and closure. So I also would like to remind you again that we have 3 door prizes. The door prizes is very interesting, so please just send your best questions, and then the committee will select 3 winners for the door prizes, and it's free, and then it will be delivered to your house. So please participate and have fun during the session. So before we start, I'd like to introduce you about the speaker. So I would like to read the short bio of Ms. Rochelle and Valera. She is a graduate of Bachelor of Arts in English Language in Mountain View College, Philippines, and she is currently finishing her thesis in Master of Arts in English Language in the same institutions. In 2015, she joined the roster of faculty of Bukidnon State University under the College of Art and Sciences, Language and Letters Department. Aside from teaching language and literature classes, her discipline also includes journalism, Filipino courses, and Bukidnon cultural studies. When the Language and Letter Department's extension program entitled English in the Workplace was launched in 2017, she is among the pioneer and active member, and this program heightened the impact of English in workplace on the performance of multi-sector professionals within the city of Malay Balay, Bukidnon, Philippines. Apart from being an academician, she is also a registered broadcaster. She is very active in community outreach member. She is also beauty pageant titleist herself. She is an official candidate of the Miss World Philippines 2021, and she also represented Philippines in other beauty pageants called Miss Landscape International in 2019, held in Guangzhou, China. So she's very amazing. I cannot wait to meet her, even though virtually I wish I can meet her in person. But yeah, so maybe later after this, I would love to meet her, and hopefully in development studies events, she would able to come here in ITS and then share her knowledge, her experience, and her amazing motivation to us all, especially for ITS students, also other students outside ITS in Indonesia. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to also a bit introduce about the topic that Ms. Rochelle will speak about this afternoon. So in this globalized world, we rapidly experience living in a multicultural world, as also Pa Imam said earlier in his opening speech. We learn as individuals and groups collectively, socially, in monocultural and in intercultural levels. We often communicate with people who have different perspectives, different behaviors than ourselves. So culture and communication are inherently attached, since communication is an element of culture. And there are a lot of variation and dimension as well within the cultures, which are very complex as well. So interaction in the setting of different cultural background may influence the resistance to change among the people in a way that communication can reproduce self-referential of social system. So here we can see that communication need to be understood in fundamental terms and in a process that capture wholeness. All right, so without waiting any further, I would like to say hi to Miss Rachel. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Miss Uni. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. It's truly an honor to be joining you this afternoon. Thank you so much for inviting me to your sixth development talk. And I'm very excited, actually.
Yeah, thank you. I know that you are very busy in Philippines, and you spend your time to speak with us and also to share your knowledge and experience to us. So thanks so much. And so I will just give to you the time, because I know our students cannot wait any longer. Maybe they're already bored to hear me talking.
No.
So I'm sure that they are very excited to hear and to learn directly from you. So the time is for you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Once again, good afternoon, everyone. I am Ms. Rachel Ann Valera. This is actually my second time being invited by ITS Surabaya for a speaking engagement. And I will be honest, with all the videos and presentation that you have flashed earlier, it made me miss going to, of course, to Indonesia, going to Malaysia and Singapore as well. In general, it made me miss traveling. Of course, because of the pandemic, everything has been restricted, but hopefully soon, very, very soon, we'll get to travel in the different parts of the world. So allow me to share my screen if it's okay.
Yeah, sure. I think you are able already to share the screen.
All right, can you see my screen now?
Exactly.
All right, so the director of Sipilu November Institute of Technology, Surabaya, vice rectors, ITS engagement, global engagement director, Dr. Maria Anityasari, to the dean of the Faculty of Creative Design and Digital Business, faculty, personnel, students, salamat suri, good afternoon, maayong adlaw kaninyo tanan. It is with sincere gratitude to the university and the ITS Global Engagement Team, Department of Development Studies, Faculty of Creative Design and Digital Business, especially to a dear friend, to Dr. Arfan Fahmy, for inviting me today to share my knowledge in the field of language, communication, and culture. Once again, I am Ms. Rachel Ann Valera, a faculty, a lecturer from the Language and Letters Department under the College of Arts and Sciences of Bukidnon State University, Philippines. So this afternoon, I will be talking about unintended meanings, managing communication challenges across multicultural setting. But before I proceed to my talk, allow me to share about my place, and including my institution, as well as my personal story of adventure and discovery, which actually will be related to my topic this afternoon. So I am currently residing in the province of Bukidnon, and rather than showing you photos, I will be showing you a video. And let me share this one again. Oh. Let me know if you can hear if you can see the video already, or if you can hear the audio. So this is my beautiful, breathtaking province, Bukidnon. All right, so that has been a video of our province, Bukidnon. All right, so let me go back to sharing my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
All right. So the province of Bukidnon is actually considered one of the most culturally rich province in the entire Philippines. Besides the fact that we are made of a lot of culture, one thing that is most popular in our province is that we are actually consist of 7 different cultural ethnic tribes. And besides that, we still live in unity. And in fact, yearly we have this celebration, one of the authentic cultural celebration here in our country, the Philippines, which is called Kaamulan. So we celebrate that one every either March or April of the year. So from Bukidnon, let's proceed to my beloved institution, which is Bukidnon State University. So as how I was introduced earlier, I joined the roster of the faculty of the Language and Letters Department, College of Arts and Sciences in 2015. And I am happy with my workplace together with the workforce that I belong in. And some of the things that, some of the photos that you can see on my slide are some of the facilities that are being developed within our institution. So we have our newly constructed building of the College of Education and the College of Law. We also have now what we call Bukidnon Study Center, wherein it is a certain infrastructure in Bukidnon State University, where we keep all of Bukidnon artifacts and where we keep songs and practices of Bukidnon culture as well. So now that I have introduced Bukidnon to you, my province Bukidnon rather, and my institution Bukidnon State University, I hope you're ready to hear some of my story and adventures of discovery. All right. So my life can be actually my time. For the past years, my time has been divided into 3. Well, besides in the academe, I am actually a multitasker. So I'm a traveler. Miss Rachel is a pageant enthusiast and a title holder, and I am also an advocate. So let's get to know Rachel as a traveler firsthand. So my goal before, I call this one personally goals of this class, because I consider myself as a class, a person who has multiple what do you call this one, multiple goals and personalities. So in 2018, in the midst of my research, for my search of my purpose, my identity and freedom, I went on a solo 2 weeks for country travel in Southeast Asia. So this is something that terrifies me the most, because in the first place, I have no concrete plan on where will I stay, eat, and who will I encounter later on. So my first stop was Malaysia. Second was Singapore, then Thailand, and lastly was Indonesia rather. So I specifically stayed in Batam for a few days. So I spent a few days in each of the country, venturing their food, tourist spot, their culture, currency, and most of all, their culture. I met a lot of people who does not share the same background and language as I do. So this is Rachel as a traveler. So imagine I done this one in 2018, and I was only alone. I was alone that time, and I ventured 4 different countries. Although, it may not be that huge of a deal for some, but for someone, for gender bias aside, for a woman who would go out alone by herself in these different countries, it's a big deal. It's a huge leap. All right. So this is Rachel as a traveler. Now let's get to know Rachel as a pageant enthusiast and a title holder. All right. So I began my pageantry journey in 2017, quite late. I was already 24, turning 25 that time. I tried doing pageantry because, it's something that I want to do for a change, something to break out of the monotony of my life in the academy, at work, just something new. So in 2017, when I won the title here in our city, the city of Malaybalay, I ventured on a higher level, which is a national level. And in that, I was given an opportunity. That was in 2019. I was given an opportunity to represent not only the province, but our country, the Philippines, on an international pageant held at Guangzhou, China. So I competed against 40 equally beautiful women coming from all over the world. And recently, I represented the province of Bukidnon in the recently concluded Miss World Philippines 2021, where I became the first ever representative of the province of Bukidnon, and I bested among the 45 official candidates coming from all over the Philippines. As what you can see in the lower right photo, this is actually my national costume during the Miss World Philippines competition, and this is actually the first Bukidnon, authentic Bukidnon costume that was presented in a national stage and was shown in the national television. So this is the first time ever that someone from our province had made it to the official candidate of Miss World Philippines. So it is really it made me proud that even though I wasn't able to bring home the crown, I was able to pave the way for future ladies who would like to venture the same path someday. So yeah, I was candidate number 37 in the Miss World Philippines 2021. So this is Rachel as a pageant enthusiast and a title holder. And the last one is Rachel as an advocate. And this brings me back to the video that I showed everyone. This video is entitled The Witness Bukidnon, and this was shot for a span of 3 months in various places in the province. And I don't know if you have observed this one in the video, but I am actually one of the female lead in the video. This is only a teaser for now, but the entire video will be released later on. And so far, if I'm not mistaken, the video had already garnered more than or almost 500,000 views. And yes, this is actually my advocacy. It focuses on the culture of Bukidnon, but at the same time relating it to my profession, which is teaching English language. So to sum it all up, my entire advocacy focuses on cultural preservation, awareness, and sensitivity through education. And with these such project as this video, it's actually it's actually a way for us to promote our culture, and at the same time, it's, you know, digitization is also a way for us to preserve information and our culture. So being a part of these projects, sponsored by our government and our province, is actually my way of promoting the culture of Bukidnon. So you may be wondering, right? I've already told you my story and adventures of discovery. So these brief life-changing experiences had taught me the importance of understanding language and culture. These previous and present adventures had a huge impact in my personal discoveries and exposure to various language and culture. With this, my passion in learning this field and sharing it to others, to the youth, had intensified. So this afternoon, I have put up some objectives that we will tackle throughout my talk. The first one is for us to understand the significance of studying multicultural communication, relate the notions of culture, cross-cultural communication, and intercultural communication to multicultural communication, identify the most prevalent barriers to multicultural communication, and the last one is for us to recognize strategies of managing multicultural communication challenges. So why should we study multicultural communication? Actually, I'm also teaching a subject called Language and Culture among the Bachelor of Arts in English Language students here in Bukidnon State University. And this is something that is worth discussing to our youth. So communication is very risky, and especially with multicultural setups. So people have different experiences shaped by various demographics and culture. And multicultural setups involves race or ethnicity, religion, socioeconomic status, gender, age, and sexual orientation. So enable for us to further understand the importance of multicultural communication, we have to be involved, or we have to bear in mind and consider these setups in multiculturalism. So let's understand culture first. So it is a shared frame of reference for interacting with one another and for interpreting the world we live in. So Bodley, 1994, defined culture as what people think, make, and do. And culture is strengthened through its expression. So there are 3P model of culture: perspective, practices, and products. If we will just focus on culture itself, it could be it can only be two, but for us to further understand culture, we have to dwell into these 3P models: perspective, practices, and products. When we talk about perspective, this refers to what the members of a culture think, feel, and most definitely the values. When we talk about practices, this refers to the tradition, typical behavior in a culture, or rituals included. Products, this refers to food, music, clothing, and literature. Speaking of literature, I have also been teaching Philippine and world literature among the students of Bukidnon State University. And one thing that I will always remind them is that language and culture are inseparable, okay? Language defines our culture, and culture reflects the language. So it's vice versa. They reflect one another, and it's so hard for them. It's so hard for us to separate them apart. All right? All right. So here are some characteristics of culture. So when culture is learned, so it is taught to others, and children learn patterns by imitating adults and developing attitudes accepted by others. Culture is shared. So culture is learned, culture is shared because common practice and beliefs are shared with others in a cultural group. Third, culture is dynamic. It is constantly changing. It adapts itself to new situations and new sources of knowledge. The fourth one, culture is integrated. This is known as holism, or the various parts of a culture being interconnected. So all aspects of a culture are related to one another to truly understand a culture. One must learn about all of its parts, not only a few. The next one is culture is symbolic. It is based on a shared set of symbols and meanings. A symbol carries meaning to the people who share a culture because it is created and maintained by the members of the culture. All right. So now that we have understood culture, let's proceed now to understanding multicultural, cross-cultural, and intercultural communication. So there are actually differences among the three. So let's go first with intercultural communication. So intercultural communication describes communities in which there is a deep understanding and respect for all cultures. Intercultural communication focuses on the mutual exchange of ideas and cultural norms and the development of deep relationships. In an intercultural society, no one is left unchanged because everyone learns from one another and grows together. So, meaning to say, in intercultural communication, it acknowledges the coexistence of multiple cultures in a single space. It focuses on the productive encounters that are constantly taking place between cultures. If individuals, let's say for example, can embody or perform multiple cultures, then any interaction between two people can potentially be an intercultural one. So again, when we talk about intercultural communication, this describes communities in which there is a deep understanding and respect for all cultures. Now let's proceed to what we call cross-cultural deals. So cross-cultural communication rather. So cross-cultural deals with the comparison of different cultures. In cross-cultural communication, differences are understood and acknowledged and can bring about individual change, but not collective transformation. So unlike intercultural communication. So in cross-cultural societies, one culture is often considered the norm, what is in, what is famous, and all other cultures are compared or contrasted to the dominant culture. Again, if we're going to compare cross-cultural to intercultural communication, in cross-cultural communication, there is a dominant culture. And from there, other cultures are being compared and contrasted. All right? Now, let's proceed to one of the main gists of my talk this afternoon, which is multicultural communication. So multicultural communication refers to a society that contains several cultural or ethnic groups. People live alongside one another, but each cultural group does not necessarily have engaging interactions with each other. For example, in a multicultural neighborhood, people may frequent ethnic grocery stores and restaurants, without really interacting with their neighbors from other countries. So meaning when people from multiple backgrounds with different ways of communicating coexist, not necessarily interacting deeply, that's a multicultural communication situation. It is communication between and among individuals and groups who coexist in the same geopolitical system. It is a creation and sharing of meaning between among mainstream and tributary groups rather. And what do we mean by tributary groups? This actually refers to different from the mainstream when it comes to race, class, age, ability, social orientation, gender, and etc. So since we are already talking about multicultural communication, let's talk about its importance. So according to Street 2002, he identified some characteristics of multicultural communication. And these are tolerating ambiguity, flexibility of behavior, and increased social sustainability. While there are importance, this is actually the challenges actually are the heaviest thing that we deal nowadays. So according to Banks 1993, here are some challenges of multicultural communication. The first is what we call the different communication styles. This refers to the way people communicate, varies widely between and even within cultures. So across cultures, some words and phrases are used in different ways. So let's say, for example, the meaning of yes varies from maybe, or I'll consider it, or definitely so. And nonverbal communication includes facial expressions and gestures, seating arrangements, personal distance, and the sense of time. So different norms on the appropriate degree. There are different norms on the appropriate degree of assertiveness. And under these different communication styles, there are actually four most common communication styles. First, we have a passive communication style, and this refers to a person who tends not to say what they mean. So that's where the meaning of yes actually varies. All right. So a passive person tends not to say what they mean, and if they have an issue, they'll keep it to themselves and let others do the talking. Another type of communication style is an aggressive communication style. So this type of communicator is loud and domineering. So an aggressive communicator will interrupt others and make their opinion known. They will typically be known around the office as earring, on the other side of inappropriate, or even we tend to label them controlling. All right. The third communication style under the different communication styles is the combination of passive aggressive. So a passive aggressive person tends to be quiet, but with an underlying air of hostility. So meaning these communicators are often unhappy in their roles, but are uncomfortable venting this in a direct way. So most of the time, they will resort to sarcasm. And sarcasm is another common trait of passive aggressive workers or communicators. The next communication style is manipulative communication style. So manipulative communicators are shrewd in the way they interact with others. So they are skilled at influencing people and getting what they want. If they want a job, another colleague is also interested in, they manipulate them by saying, I wouldn't want that to be I wouldn't want that if I were in your position. So that's actually a way of manipulating their colleagues not to want that position anymore. So they couldn't pay me. So they wouldn't. You would also say they wouldn't pay me enough to take this one up. So those are manipulative statements or communication. Those are manipulative statements or ways to make your friend or your colleague not want the job, not to want the job anymore. All right. So those are the different communication styles. Now let's go to the second challenge, still according to Banks, 1993, which is direct and indirect communication. So when we say about direct communication, this is saying explicitly and plainly what the person is thinking. So it's like someone is an open book. So whatever is in that person's mind, he or she just blurts it out, and whatever he or she feels, he or she just say it out loud. While in an indirect communication, it is not saying what a person is thinking. Instead, they use like gestures, tone, or body language to communicate their true meaning. And I think, if not all, most of the ladies are quite guilty on this one. I'll be honest, I am quite guilty on this one. I am quite an indirect communicator when it comes to what I feel or what I think. So sometimes I just, when my partner will ask me like, are you mad? No, I'm not mad. But deep inside me, I'm mad. It's funny, but it's true. So yeah, this is actually a challenge as well in multicultural communication. Now let's proceed to non-native accents and fluency. Actually, in my first talk with IPS Surabaya, I talked about strategies on what they call this one, strategies to improve accents and fluency in the English language. And also, during the time that I traveled in different countries, I have also seen the struggles of a lot of people in this challenge, in this multicultural challenge. So when we talk about non-native accents and fluency, this refers to a non-native accent. This is generally defined as a speech that systematically diverges from native speech due to inference from the phonological and acoustic phonetic characteristics of a talker's native language. So in workplace, or sometimes in most of our work environment, lack of fluency of non-native speakers can lead to subtle forms of discrimination under evaluation of foreign employees and competences and fewer career opportunities. Well, this is also true in terms of the work environment here in the Philippines. The way we speak English, I know that you can also hear my accent and you can hear my accents, that there is an influence of my native language. So just like what I'm saying, it's true here in the Philippines, because there are a lot of native languages that we have here in our country, and it greatly influence the ability of the students in learning the English language, and even in speaking speaking it out loud. Because of the influence of the Visayan dialect that we have here in the Philippines, we tend to lose the proper pronunciation of P and F, PH, And there are also a lot of consonants and vowel sounds that we tend to miss. So that's really a struggle for us here in Bukidnon State University in, in honing our students in learning the English language. Now let's proceed to nonverbal communication. When we talk about nonverbal communication, and yes, this is a challenge in multicultural communication as well, because it plays an important role in any communication situation. It often plays a supplementary role to the verbal content delivered orally. So people with different cultures have different styles of nonverbal communication, and they differ in the rules for turn taking, the use of silence, of course, posture, eye contact, proximity, the touch, the tone of the voice, the nod, the facial expressions, the gesture, and so on and so forth. So these challenges led me to the title of my talk this afternoon, which is unintended meanings. Unintended in such a way that we tend to practice these, like let's say nonverbal cues unintentionally, or we did not really mean it. All right? Let's say, for example, the snapping of fingers. So, in most culture, the snapping of fingers, sometimes it's just a part of like music. All right? When you feel like you like the rhythm, you snap your fingers together with the rhythm, that's it. But you know what? These nonverbal cues, just as simple as the snapping of the finger, in France, when we go in France, when you do it at both hands at the same time, it means that you despise someone and you want to fight them. Can you believe it? If you snap your fingers at the same time when you're in France, it means that you want to fight them. The next one is touch. In England, Japan, Germany, USA, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, North Europe, and Portugal, they don't like to touch. They kind of find it offensive. While in Spain, India, Iran, France, Turkey, Greece, Arabia, and some parts of Asia and Italy, touches are acceptable and oftentimes common. There are also instances in Asia wherein touching or pointing with your feet is considered impolite, and you can't rest your feet on a chair or on a table. Now flying to Nepal, we're now going, crossing globes. From Asia, let's go to Nepal. Crossing your legs is a serious faux pas. It's very offending. And nodding your head in most countries are a sign of agreement, so meaning yes. But when you go to Bulgaria, all right, it is a sign of disagreement. So it means no. For us, when we nod our head, it means yes. But when we go to Bulgaria or the people from Bulgaria, it's a sign of disagreement. It means no. And when we go to Japan, yes. And it actually connotes another message, I understand, or yes, please continue, or sometimes, yes, I agree. While in India, agreement is shown by tilting your head side to side. So you can see the variation there. Now let's go to, a more intimate bad body language, which is kissing and hugging. So in Southern Europe, a totally standard form of greeting, whether it is a close person or not, and no matter the gender, in the New Zealand or Switzerland and France, women kiss both men and women. And men, on the other hand, they prefer handshakes and only accept kisses from their fathers or close friends. While in England, they don't exchange kisses on the face at all, as it is customary in other parts of Europe. While in the United States, air kissing or the pretense of kissing is becoming more and more popular, and you don't need to touch the cheeks. So, just doing like that. All right? You don't need to touch the cheeks, so you just kiss the air near the cheeks, and that's it. That's already kissing for them. While in the Middle East, kisses between a man and a woman are considered inappropriate, with the only exception being the husband and wife or close relatives. When two people of the same time, when two people of the same gender are greetings, kisses are common. And in Turkey, they often kiss on the face, even between men, unless they meet for the first time. So there are a lot more. There are a lot more, gestures, hand gestures, postures, body languages, facial expressions. And because of this, misunderstandings and conflicts aren't the result of bad intentions. All right? Because of the numerous things that we have to consider, starting with the hand gesture, with our facial expressions, with our postures, it's the lack of understanding different structures that leads us to misunderstanding and conflicts. And this is very essential for communicators in expressing their viewpoints. Okay, let's say for example, another one. Have I mentioned handshakes? I think I haven't mentioned that one. So handshakes, we have in the US, England, Germany. It's used whether you're parting or someone. What else? Oh yeah, in Japan, handshaking are oftentimes considered impolite because they choose to, or they prefer to bow down instead, because that's how they show respect. Another thing is what we usually do, which is thumbs up. So in the US, it's okay, see you later, or cool. In Brazil, it's a way of saying thank you. But believe it or not, in Iran, this is actually a very rude gesture, because it is similar to giving someone the middle finger. See, are you aware of that? It's like giving someone a middle finger. And in Egypt and Israel, it means very good or perfect. Or in Finland and Australia, excellent, great, and so on and so forth. Another thing is the V sign. The V sign for England, Australia, Ireland, New Zealand, it's actually offensive. So it's quite similar to raising a middle finger. While the rest of the world, it is a sign for victory or peace. This sign is also quite popular nowadays in our country, here in the Philippines, because of the election period. And besides that, there's also a lot more, hand gestures that's going on. So yeah, just like what I was saying, these without understanding and without knowing the meanings of these gestures or nonverbal cues, This may result to unintended meanings from our side and even to those who will get the message. Unintended in a sense that we did not really mean to offend someone. It's just that we don't know what are the meaning. All right? So it's very vital for us to be more aware and to understand the meaning behind these gestures, or to 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 have a deeper understanding on these communication challenges. So how do we manage multicultural challenges? So first, we have to understand that there are different communication styles. We have to speak or write clearly with consideration for others of other cultures. So if you're talking, speak slowly so that others can more easily understand you. Avoid idioms and local figures of speech. So let's say, for example, it's raining cats and dogs makes sense to English speakers, but in Greek, they would say it's raining chair legs. All right? So another thing is go easy on jokes. Another thing is that I've mentioned about the different communication styles. Here are some ways on how to deal with these types of communicators. So we have the passive, we have the aggressive, and we have the manipulative communicators. So there are different ways on dealing with them, and these are just some steps on how to manage them. Next one is dealing direct and indirect communication, or how do you manage direct and indirect communication? So high context people, such as Asians, do not need for people to verbalize everything in explicit or direct ways. In contrast, low context cultures or Western people tend to be less homogeneous and often do not share a common history. So in all these, the listener has to understand the culture to understand the meaning of the communication. So the listener is responsible for interpreting the message. The listener's sensitivity and ability to capture the under the surface meaning, or the meaning or reading between the lines, and to discern implicit meaning becomes critical. So for direct communicators, you have to soften your statements and ease into topics gradually. Learn to listen between the lines, just like what I mentioned. And for indirect people, and this is because indirect people often, couch important information in softer terms that direct people may miss if they are not paying close attention. Next is avoid outright demands for answers, such as why? Why not? Why can you have this? Are you on board with this or not? And so on and so forth. Be patient if you don't get your answers on the spot. Often, relationship-oriented groups need to confer privately before giving answers. So, while for indirect communicators, here are some things that you have to bear in mind. You have to realize that direct people are far more reassured to hear absolutely sincere answers than they are with a gentle letdown. So it is a sign of trust and respect to express your true position without delay. Another is hearing very specific questions or requests for clarification from direct people is a sign of aggression on their part. So it is a sign of discomfort sometimes, and it causes them anxiety that they do not feel sure about the situation. So they may even worry that you are misleading them or have insincere intentions. So those are just ways on how you deal with direct and indirect communicators. Next is managing multicultural challenges in non-native accents and fluency. So non-native speakers need to have positive attitude towards their own accents to enhance their authenticity. Prior research has found that non-native speakers' attitude towards their own accent can influence how they interact with native speakers. And positive attitude towards accent is important to experience authenticity. So the more that you look down on your native accent, on your non-native accent rather, the more that you tend to regress from learning the language that you want to learn. So it's better for you to change that attitude. So the same thing that I will often tell my students, do not be afraid to speak the English language, even though your native what do you call that? Your native accent is very obvious when you speak the English language, because in that way you will be able to evaluate yourself more, and from there, from your self evaluation, maybe you can rise from the idea of improving yourself as well. All right. The last one is managing multicultural challenges in nonverbal communication. So here are some main solutions to reduce or eliminate them based on Abu and Al Serhan 2019. So there I included 12 here. So avoid using body language that contradicts words. One thing that I would like to highlight in these main solutions, is avoid stereotyping, and have an understanding of how the message may impact the feeling of the receiver. It is a matter of being conscious on how the receiver will get the message across them. And as a sender, you also have to be conscious if the message that you're trying to convey them is right or wrong, or else the message will not actually get across them. So proper understanding and avoiding stereotypes in nonverbal communication is very vital. And of course, another thing is be patient with people who have different culture, and that is number 4. So that's 4, 6, and 9, and 10 rather, that I would like to really highlight on these main solutions, because traveling back then, these 3 what they call this one solutions actually helped me get through my travel without being too without being too smart or too bookish on what are the do's and don'ts in nonverbal communications. You just have to be very patient and be more understanding, and remove and avoid those stereotypes. All right. So with all of these ways in managing multicultural challenges, these are actually ways in developing multicultural competence. And the combination multicultural competence is actually the combination of knowledge, skills, and cultural awareness. This is also the ability, it also allows us, or it gives us the ability to question our own beliefs and attitudes and perceptions, and identifying the practices that are biased and changing one's perception of self and others. And another, developing multicultural competence is also the combination of knowledge, skills, and appropriate attitudes and beliefs about human relationships surrounding diversity and cultural awareness. So with multicultural competence, you as a citizen of the world, you become aware of culture clashes. You develop knowledge of dimensions of cultural variability. and you become knowledgeable about the influences of culture. You resist the blame game and the judgmental attitude, and you become welcoming and comfortable with cultural encounters. You strive to reduce prejudice and bias. And isn't it a great thing to picture it out when us, as citizens of the world, we live in harmony and peace among one another because we have all of these understandings and knowledge and less prejudice and bias. I actually picture myself living in that kind of world. So to close or to end my talk, allow me to leave you with a quote by Alan Joyce. She said that we have a very diverse environment and a very inclusive culture, and those characteristics got us through the tough times. Diversity generated a better strategy, better risk management, better debates, and better outcomes. Once again, this is Miss Rachel Ann Valera. Terima kasih, and have a great day, everyone.
Thanks so much for your presentation. I find it very interesting, and I'm sure that our students and also the audience also learn a lot from your experience and also the materials that you have presented. So we have lots of questions in the Google form that we received. So for the first session, I'd like to read 3 questions. So the first question is from outside ITS, from Henny Dwi Irianti. She is from Sekolah Tinggi Maritim Yogyakarta. So she's from Yogyakarta, the Central Java. All right, so she asked, how do we understand unintended meaning one another when we don't share a common cultural experience? So, yeah, maybe you can answer for the first questions.
All right. Just like what I mentioned, when we talk about unintended meanings, you know, these are like messages that came across one another unintentionally because of our unawareness of probably nonverbal communications or the communication styles that we practice, and enable for us to avoid these unintended meanings rather. All right, am I still around? Okay. So enable for us to avoid these unintended meanings to you know to be out there, you know, we have to understand and we have to absorb more on I'm sorry, we have to understand nonverbal cues more, nonverbal communications more, the different gestures, proximity, and we have to have a deeper understanding on the different communication styles among other cultures. So yeah, enable for us to avoid these unintended meanings, we need a wide knowledge on our communication styles and understanding on multicultural communication as well.
All right, so thanks so much. And the second questions is from Hoirul Anam. He is an ITS student. So he asked, you know, he learned that you do a lot of advocacy while you do the Miss World Philippines and also Miss Landscape. And he's wondering about, you know, as Philippines are archipelagic countries, like you have lots of islands in the Philippines, and Philippines also very rich in culture. And yeah, so he is wondering when the Philippines faced the era of globalization that causing the younger generation to forget the culture. So according to you, what do you think about the effectiveness in cultural campaigns for the younger generation so that they can love more and proud of their own culture, especially in this crazy world of commodification and also the globalization?
Actually, for me, it's very important. And that's actually one of the reasons why I push through with my advocacy, not only on relating it to to the culture of Bukidnon and to my profession as an English language teacher, but I also connect that one to the culture of the entire Philippines. You see, here in our country, just like what you've mentioned, we are highly affected by globalization, and I have seen in the youths in our country that they are regressing little by little to our culture. They have lost interest on the celebration of our kaamulan, on the meanings of, on the essence of our ethnic attires, of our language. And it's sad. It's very, very sad. So as an advocate, as an advocate and as an educator, I really tried my best to be more involved in the academe and in our government, in our community, to bring up more programs and more activities wherein we will be able to involve the youth, or even the young adults as well. Especially during this pandemic, it's hard. It's really, really hard. It's a challenge not only for the educators, not only for the tourism, but it's a challenge for the entire community and the government of our province. Especially that we're really trying to preserve the authenticity of the 7 ethnic tribes and the various rituals. Yeah. It's really a challenge.
All right, so thank you. And the third question from Windy Ardianita Mhum. She
Layanan
worked.
betul, apa saja sasaran
Okay.
Italy?
Sorry.
Oh.
All right, so I think a technical problem. All right, so from Ibu Windy, she is from the language center in ITS, and she want to ask, does the development of the internet technology and social media causes a change in the way we communicate in terms of quality and also quantity, style, and so on? And if yes, how far it is?
Oh, definitely it does, and it did, especially during this pandemic. Students, the young ones, has been quarantined for so long in their households that they have been refrained from doing face-to-face interaction. And from there, for me personally, as in my own observation, this has gravely affected the youth in a way that they became too much, socially anxious. And from that anxiety that they have developed during the pandemic and being exposed in social media, most of them, not all, okay, most of them does not know how to properly, give or connect anymore. I know you can relate to this, Miss Uni, because as lecturers, we really enjoy. There's a certain satisfaction that we get during face-to-face classes, and right now, because here in Bukidnon State University, we are gradually opening our institution to limited face-to-face classes. And I have observed that most of the students had developed social anxiety. They don't know how to, control their facial expressions anymore. They don't know the importance of touch anymore, the gestures. Their postures has been gravely affected on the time that they have spent in front of of their gadgets. And yeah, I can definitely agree that this has gravely affected the way our youth um, are communicating. And I just hope that when things are back to the new normal, will I know this will be a challenge to us teachers, in the coming years. We'll get to help them, develop that way of communicating, or will help them develop a better communication style when the new normal um goes, when we go back to our new normal.
Yes, indeed. I also wonder, do we will ever be the same again before the pandemic or not?
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah, because we are now are becoming more comfortable using gadget and meeting via Zoom instead of face-to-face meeting, and then it's a bit awkward to directly meet people in person right now, and especially also for the students. So yes, I really agree with you, and I also feel the same experience with your experience as well in terms of education at the campus level. All right, so we're heading for the second round of the Q&A session. The questions for the second round is from Sola Gracia. He wondering how should we set our mindset to overcome our fear when we face a new culture that is very different from our original culture. So I think your experience really fits these questions, because you represent Philippines to the world, and with the multicultural context. So the time is for you.
All right. So allow me just to go back to the three what they call this one, ways that I managed to survive my travel before. Let me go back to that for a while. Just how do I say this one? As much as possible, just avoid stereotyping, respect the cultural differences, and you also have to know that, or you also have to recognize that you cannot change a culture, or you cannot adapt into a certain culture overnight. So it really takes time. I don't know where did I read this, but I read this one somewhere before, that when you learn a certain language, all right, when you learn a certain language, you are also gradually, or you also slowly adapt to the way the natives of that language think and act. And I kind of observed that one from myself when I was still learning the English language, because I would say, like, why am I having a tough time absorbing this language? Where in fact, there are already grammar rules, books laid down there. But only to realize that when you really learn a language, you learn how the natives speak and things like. All right. So let's say, for example, if you want to learn like the Filipino language, you have to also think like a Filipino. And I think it's the same when I learn your language there. I will also have to think and act like you guys. So it really takes time. All right. So everything that takes time is always worth the learning. It's always worth the experience. And another thing is that, um, um, just like what I said earlier, be patient as well with people who have different culture, because once you also project that patience towards them, probably the culture, the learning of that culture will also reflects back to you. All right.
Okay, thanks so much. And last questions. We actually still have lots of questions, but I think we ran out of time. So, okay, for the last question from Linda, she's from Surabaya, and she wants to ask, what do you think about communication between spouses, like wife and wife, a husband and wife, or partners to partners from two different cultures, especially learning the high rate of divorce? So what do you think about it?
For a while, let me think, because I'm not yet. I'm still.
Maybe some
Maybe I
cases
should-
from Philippines.
Maybe I should also ask my partner about that.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not yet married though. But one thing that I have observed as well is that I'm only going to speak on my perspective as someone who's currently in a relationship, because this is actually a secret, and I'm only going to share this among the 100 plus participants of Surabaya. But the current relationship that I am right now is my first and ever relationship. So I haven't had any relationship when I was in high school or even in college.
That's
So
very
we have,
sweet.
yeah, we have this like a joke, not really a joke, but like an acronym here in the Philippines where we call NBSB. So no boyfriend since birth. So I'm that kind of, I'm that kind of woman before I met my partner right now. And because it's because I observed a lot of relationship, and the relationship that I mainly observed was the relationship of my mom and my dad. So to answer the question, I think one of the greatest way to overcome communication problems within a relationship is compromise. It's not part of my talk, but it's something that I can also apply right now. I'm a woman who has a very dominant personality. So sometimes I get confused whether am I the man in the relationship or is it him? But yeah, because of my dominant personality, sometimes I tend to, not intentionally actually. So and this is also unintended. I unintentionally emasculate my partner. So for me to avoid that and to avoid further conflicts and problems between us, uh, I really compromise. I really compromise on that, and I really give time for him to man up, because my partner is the kind of person who, not really spoiled, but he kinds of agree to the things that I say just to avoid conflict as well. But yeah, so sometimes he would just agree to what I said, and sometimes I don't like that. So I give him the time to man up, and that's actually, yeah, a compromise. So that's also what I observed from my grandmother and grandfather. So two conflicting attitudes and characters, we really need to learn how to compromise.
Okay, so thanks so much for sharing your experience. So this
Thank
is a
you.
real life experience, and you shared here. So thanks so much. Okay, so I think it's very inspiring from you that about your commitment, and also how the way you want to compromise, even though you are highly a career woman and you're very successful, and to compromise something. I understand that it must be very challenging. But yeah, so compromise is also part of communication, right? All right. So I would like to ask your closing statement before you end your presentation, so that to sum up everything that you have presented earlier. So.
Yeah, just to close everything, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude once again to ITS Surabaya. Thank you so much for having me for the second time right now. And I hope that one of these days, or maybe in the near future, I'll be able to visit your campus, and I will also be able to learn. Actually, I've learned so much from you guys from starting in 2020 and now that we are in 2022. And of course, a huge a heartfelt gratitude as well to a dear friend, Dr. Arfan Fami, for keeping in touch and for sharing experiences with me and in Bukidnon State University. I look forward again on seeing you all someday face to face. And if not that I'll be in your campus, hopefully that you will be in our institution someday. Thank you so much and have a great day, everyone.
Thanks so much. And I'd like to, have a conclusion from your presentation in my perspectives after, learning from your lecture. So we learned about the challenges of multicultural communication. We learned about the communication style, direct versus indirect communication, and also non-native accent and fluency, and also non-verbal and verbal communication. It includes the gestures, mimics, intonation, and etc. And this is very varies in different cultural contexts. And also communication between men and women, also in the gender basis among different cultures is also different. There is a patriarchy and also other kind of system that also play an important roles in the intercultural communication. And finally, communication need to be understood in fundamental terms and in a process that capture wholeness. So that's maybe my conclusion. And before I give to Berlian as the host, I'd like to invite Dr. Arfan Fahmi to present the certificate for Miss Rachel and Valera for giving a very outstanding lecture for today. Hello, Dr. Arfan.
Halo, halo.
Hai, Bapak.
Hai.
Miss Valera, I want to meet you actually also.
Yeah, I hope in the near future, yeah, I think, in Asian country, next month, there will be no quarantine for the COVID-19. Hopefully it's getting better and better so that then we actually in this summer, we can, at least travel in ASEAN regions, especially, because that was very important one because my talk next month will be ASEAN community. So the ASEAN must be the focus of our developments because before we go further into other part of the world, ASEAN I think is a very diverse and dynamic community. So that then using the strength of culture and intercultural, multicultural communication, we hope that it can strengthen our understanding as well as our welfare. Yeah. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your talks. My students have very much insight. Actually, I, together with Ms. Yuni, currently run a course called intercultural communications. So part of the students here, most of, I think all of my students in Ibu Uni attending this talk, to see some insight of yours. So that's really a good talk, and we can have more and more insight from you later. Thank you. The committee, may you present the certificate in your screen.
Yeah, the committee, please help to share screen the certificate for Miss Rochelle.
Yeah, on behalf of ITS Rector, I express my gratitude to you, Ms. Rahel, to have a very insightful and encouraging talk on intercultural communications. This certificate will be sent to your house, to your institution later after our rector, Professor Muhammad Azari, signed this certificate. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your talk.
Thank you so much, Dr. Arfan Fahmi.
All right, so thank you, Dr. Alfami, for presenting the certificate for Ms. Rachel and Valera. And again, Ms. Rachel, thanks so much for spending your busy time and to do the guest lecture for us in our Development Talks Volume 6 today, and we really look forward to collaborate with you. Maybe we can also do another guest lecture, also maybe visiting a campus in the near future. And please stay safe and healthy, and keep inspiring across the globe. And look forward to meet you in the near future. Thanks so much again. And I'd like to give the time for Berlian as the host.
Okay. So we should be aware that there are many ways to communicate, so that we should broaden our knowledge. Thank you very much, Ms. Rachel and Valare, for the knowledge and insight. And of course, we'll wait for you in Surabaya, Miss. And of course, Miss Eunice Setianingsi, who guide Miss Rachel for this session. Give a round of virtual applause for both of them. All right, next up, we head to the second session, which the participants must have been waiting for. It is door prize time, yay! So as we all know, the winner of the door prize is the one who actively asked questions to none other than Miss Rachel Anne Valare, and who joined Devtalk. So without further ado, let me read the nomination. The winner. So, I would like to ask Bapak Arfan Fahmi, how is today, Pak?
Yeah. Okay. Let me announce the. Let me check the content here first. All right. So the three top prize winner is, the first winner is Miss Linda from Hasanuddin University. I think it's Southern Sulawesi, yeah? Miss Linda from Unhas. Maybe the committee can have the screen on Miss Linda. Then the second one is Miss Windy Ardianta from Global Language Center, ITS Surabaya. Miss Windy Ardianta. And the last one is from ITS that is Muhammad Khairul Anam. Muhammad Khairul Anam. So let me read once again. Miss Linda, thank you. Miss Windy and Mr. Anam. Yeah, Muhammad Khairul Anam. Please contact the committee for further information where we should deliver your package. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Bapak Arfan, and congratulations on the 3 winners of the door prizes. Please wait for the prizes in your house. Okay. Well, it is so the time here is past 5 p.m. And of course, it's always hard to say goodbye. But however, we look forward to meet you again at the next Devtalk. And before we wrap up, I sincerely say thank you to Dr. Imam Baihaqi, Dr. Arfan Fahmi, Miss Rachel, Miss Yuni, and all the committee members who have worked very hard to prepare today's Devtalk. And of course, all the participants who had spared their time to come and enjoy this program. Thank you all for your great support. And this is it. It's been an honor for me to facilitate Devtalk today. And thank you. Bye all.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.